I guess so.
You gotta make it part of it.
Oh, Duane, I got the.
Alright, time to get started.
Just
I got the
later.
okay on that tree trimming.
Okay.
So I've got it in my my notes where she gave us the okay to do it, so I can screenshot and send it to you.
Alright, welcome everybody to the May 10th, 2022 regular scheduled session of this Boyle County Fiscal Court. We'll start out today with an invocation from Magistrate Tom Ellis.
Thank you, Judge. May we bow in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to be here on this glorious sunshine day in spring that you've given to us to do the work of the people of our county. Please guide us through our deliberations. Please be with us in all of our decisions. Dear Father, the world is at war once again. Please look out for the people of Ukraine and smite the Russian assaults that are going on. And Lord, as I close my prayer, since we will not meet again until after Armed Forces Day, please be with the men and women of the United States military and keep them safe. All this I pray in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Alright, if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright. We got the approval of the prior meeting minutes. And so
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
we have a motion to approve made by Magistrate Gay and seconded by Magistrate Short. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Yes, Judge. Early on, and I haven't opened my computer yet, Tom Ellis to make, I think it now says Tom Ellis made. That's just a little typo there. Road construction resolution, it says, I guess I'm getting down into the actual body copy of what we've got. But on the district reports, there's no dollar sign in front of the 3.915 million. So that's all I have.
Those changes have been made. Anybody have anything else? All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries to approve minutes as made with corrections. Next, Darlene. Let's see. No, we have bills, and that's Miss Mariah. Good morning.
So before I give you the total, I just want to let you know there's going to be two changes that kind of happened last minute. If you go to your second page in the bills, under Central Kentucky Hardware, when I was doing my check through here, the total for the second one in there is actually $85.04. So it changed from, I think it was like 62 something. It got typed in wrong, so I was correcting that. And on the third page, the Combs and Wilbert invoice, that's going to actually change to a new line item that Darlene is adding. And she'll tell you all about that, but I just wanted to let you all know so that you're aware. Our bills total to $3,977,821.03. The standing orders paid out totaled at $430,395.71.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the bills as presented, made by Magistrate Gay and seconded by Magistrate Sammons. Any questions, comments, or discussions? All those in favor, yes, sir, John.
I guess I'm getting picky.
as I become more senior, but the big check to the city is for occupational collection, I assume.
Yes, sir.
That's a big one. Will that check be sent separately by itself?
I typically walk it over.
Well, but when you do the check,
Mhm.
will you do just that particular, because there's other things in it, which is expenses and other things that. My point is this. We've collected this on behalf of the city.
Yes, sir.
My opinion is, as an old banker, is that check be totally just that figure of what we collected, because if it was ever researched, it would be part of other things that were in the check.
Mhm.
I just think that figure should be a separate check by itself, just for that purpose.
It is.
Okay,
It is.
I
It
believe
comes out of a
separate.
different account.
Okay.
It comes
The
out of the tax
administrative
account.
fees and all that is not included in that
Okay,
amount.
I just want to be sure it can be shown, because this
Yes.
is something that couldn't
Yes, sir.
be looked at
It's
down the
its own
road.
separate check. Yes,
And
sir.
thank you so much, appreciate it.
Okay,
Good.
is anything else? All those in favor of paying the bills as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and that motion carries. Thank you. All right, now we're ready for Ms. Darlene on some budget transfers and indoor cash transfers.
Yes, and I do have those. Okay. I made one last, and let's see, did you get that scanned in? The one that you did yesterday? Okay. All right, so I had made one that I had left off, but the total now is $40,161.87 for the budgeted transfers.
Got it. Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
A motion to approve the budget transfers as presented. Questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay. And then cash transfers, I have a total of $400,585.51.
Make a motion, to approve that too.
Second.
Motion to approve the cash transfers made by Magistrate Cohen, second by Magistrate Short. Questions, comments, or discussions? All those in favor signify for the cash transfer, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and that motion carries. Thank you. All right, now we're moving on to the consent calendar. First on the, in the agenda is credit card discussion. We've talked about some things in the past. Gentlemen, remember we signed a resolution stating that the credit cards that my office has and that the treasurer has would be used for official court travel and reservations and the such. And I want to throw it out on the floor to see if you want to consider making any other additions to that policy or change or not to include small, like almost one of a kind, where we don't have any financial relationship with somebody, like to pay a one-time or registration fee for a piece of software that's done annually, or something else that could be utilized for the office. Or, you know, Mike, you had a membership fee that, wasn't it?
The Board of EMS at the state, they don't take purchase orders, so the only other way to do it is you have to print a check and drive it up there. So I would consider it's a lot easier.
So
I just wanna have a
I'm
discussion.
thinking memberships, dues, subscriptions are all fine. I would,
I would encourage staff to review it and put together a policy
yeah.
that's, and then let us
Look at it.
look
I know.
at it and have some more discussion about it, because I think that there's plenty of good appropriate uses for a purchase. A pro card is what we call them at Center, for a pro card system that can make it a lot less cumbersome on everybody and still have all the appropriate checks and balances that we would want in it.
I know it's really hard on Bill as well. I mean, you really can't just do a lot of purchase orders. And so yeah, I mean, I see very easily that, just like Jamie said, come up with something and we can review it. The only thing that I would ask that be in there is that we do not automatically allow it to be renewed each year. So if there's a subscription, we have to go automatically in, because when changes happen or whatever, we don't want to make sure that we're just continuing to pay something we shouldn't have paid, and we can't get it.
Oh, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. Normally they'll send you an email that says your subscription or whatever is up for renewal, and but yeah, don't automatically renew.
Yeah.
But I mean, this will give.
So you want to see a policy that the staff creates,
correct,
to address those kinds of needs that we have officially out of the judge's office?
Yeah.
Okay. We can do it, and we'll have it for the next court session.
Okay, sounds good.
Does anything need to be put on there between now and then that we need to approve, maybe? Allowing?
We can approve it after they get everything on it, then.
Well, no, I'm just saying, is there any sort of...
Between now and
I
don't think
are
so.
there any dues or subscriptions or payments or anything like that okay.
I don't
I
think so.
can't think of anything.
Okay, good. All right.
All right, the resolution for public prayer, I'm gonna pass this to Magistrate Ellis.
Thank you, Judge. You'll recall that 2 weeks ago I mentioned that our Attorney General of Kentucky, Campbell, is joining litigation through the U.S. Supreme Court. I'll read you a very brief paragraph of what transpired. The case before the Supreme Court on Monday, this has now happened, involves Joseph Kennedy, a former football coach in Washington State. For years, the coach would kneel at the center of the field following games and eventually was leading the students in prayer. The school district learned what he was doing, asked him to stop. He did not, and he was terminated about 3 years ago. This has a lot to do with our freedoms that began to erode in the 1960s. When I played football, we always prayed both before and after the ball games if someone was injured. I was delighted moving here 20 years ago that when I was certified to teach at Boyle County High School, virtually every classroom that I went into, the teachers either had the 10 Commandments or the Lord's Prayer, and virtually all of them would have a Bible on their desk. This is kind of going back to what our founding fathers had in mind, and I was so pleased last week when I mentioned it, or 2 weeks ago when I mentioned it in court. The judge invited me to draft a resolution, and I'll read that before you. Boyle County Fiscal Court support of public prayer. Whereas Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron has proclaimed his support for the case now before the United States Supreme Court on the rights of a public school football coach to pray on the field of play, and whereas the First Amendment to the United States Constitution provides the right of free speech to all American citizens, and whereas John Jay, the first Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, stated that in selecting our elected officials we should prefer Christians, and whereas Revolutionary War hero Patrick Henry stated, "It cannot be emphasized too strongly that our great nation was founded by Christians on the gospel of Jesus Christ." And whereas Daniel Webster, America's first superintendent of public schools, said, "Education is useless without the Bible." And whereas one of our founding fathers, John Adams, stated, "A constitution of government once changed from freedom can never be restored. Liberty once lost is lost forever." And whereas modern era United States Supreme Court Justice Antonio Scalia once stated, "Be fools for Christ and have the courage to suffer the contempt of the sophisticated world." And whereas commencing the first congressional session, the entire delegation knelt reverently on the House floor, praying to our Almighty God, closing that prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Now therefore be it resolved that the Boyle County, Kentucky's Fiscal Court forwards its unanimous support of Attorney General Daniel Cameron's firm stand in favor of the public prayer petition now before the United States Supreme Court. This resolution is hereby formally ratified on this 10th day of May 2022 during the regular proceedings of the Boyle County Fiscal Court. Judge, I move that we accept this resolution.
Have a motion to
I'll second it.
accept the resolution as read
I must,
by Magistrate Ellis and
Yeah.
seconded by Magistrate Short.
and I need to state that I can't support this resolution as presented and written. I strongly believe in my profession of faith and that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, but that's a personal profession of faith between me and my Lord and Savior. And I just think to politicize our faith has been an issue that's plagues our world today and has long plagued our world. And I just think that we, as elected officials, represent all people, not just our Christian brothers and sisters, but we represent all people in our community.
There's nothing exclusionary in this.
And so I just cannot support this as in good faith.
Okay. Anybody else like to comment?
Yes. As I read this, I felt like it was politicizing a very personal issue that we each one has to decide. I don't have I think what happened to the coach is not right. I don't know what that will be decided, but I'm a little uncomfortable now. To say that I won't vote for it, I'm still contemplating, to tell you the truth. My vote would be that I disagree with what's happened with the coach. I think that's their personal decision. Players have the right to either leave the field or stay on the field and participate in the prayer. We had a gentleman here who, when the prayer of the court was made each meeting, would get up and leave, and that was certainly his right to do. Very good fellow. He was just uncomfortable. It's a personal decision in my mind of my personal religion and how I perceive things and take things in. To politicize it, to me, is wrong. This borderlines politicizing it in my mind. However, I think we have to look at the big picture and make a decision based on the big picture. That's what I mean by that.
Also, I do want to I want to just add one more thing, just to be on a personal relationship that I have with a team that I work with closely, and that's the Center College football team. And I would state that we still do pray before and after each football game. And so I don't agree with the way this was handled with this coach, and I don't know all the details of the case by any means. I just feel like we've got to make sure that we represent all of our citizens, and I'm a strong believer in our freedom to worship how we choose.
I'm saddened that people would say that this is politicizing it, when in the 1960s, that's when it became politicized. For over 200 years, prayer was, as I say, on the very first meeting of our Congress, when George Washington went from behind the dais and knelt on the floor, every member of Congress did the same thing. They had a magnificent prayer that, in fact, I use every time that I'm a Gideon for the past 12 years in churches around this community and across the state. Hardly politicizing, we're reaffirming what our founding fathers gave us as a Constitution, a Bill of Rights, with freedom of speech being number one. So again, Judge, I'd call the question.
I kind of agree with John and Jamie. Long time on this court, any of us vote against this resolution. It's just, some things in there you got that I don't particularly like. I don't want us to bow down to the Adjutant General or anybody else, and we never have, as long as I can remember, stated that in accord with so-and-so, we're gonna vote along with him. When this getting too political.
That just grieves me that, three of
That's
you
not
have said
taking
that it's
anybody's
political.
rights away from them. You still
No.
got a choice whether you wanna pray or not.
Thank you.
Well, I have a problem with the third paragraph. I'm not gonna be honest. I'm not gonna lie. I think, and I've said this all along, we should prefer the best person for the position. They should not be selected just because of a certain standing. And so,
Let me make a statement then.
well, let me finish first.
Okay, sure. You had a pause there.
It's my filter. I fully agree that we need to show support for people's rights, and those rights go both ways. And so this coach should not have been fired because of the First Amendment and its protected speech. But I can't go along with something that wants to protect one side of a speech while neglecting another person's right to free speech.
And as Ryan said, it does not do that.
Well, and I don't think maybe your intent was that, but it reads that way. And so I still would like to show support for this, and we have done resolutions for other things.
Yes, we have.
But I would like an opportunity for possibly, with some constructive criticism,
I'll take it.
maybe this is rewritten.
I would like to make a recommendation then. If that one line, where our
Yeah.
first Chief Justice made the comment about preferring Christians, I would like to amend it to remove that one whereas for John Jay and proceed with the vote on the remaining resolution.
I mean, I was comfortable up to after the second whereas. And then from there on, it gets a little,
Maybe.
yeah, a little over the top for me. I'm good. I'm definitely, whereas the First Amendment to the United States Constitution provides the right of free speech to all American citizens.
I make a
Period.
motion to table it till the next meeting. to give-
And I apologize, maybe we didn't talk about this beforehand. And we should have given some thoughts beforehand. And I apologize, I did not. But I think we can't ask people to come onto Christ while not having a Christ mindset. So, that's my 2 cents.
I really don't think it's asking that. I mean, we got a right, I mean, our rights,
But we represent.
we
A
do,
community.
but they still got a right to, if they wanna pray or not wanna pray.
Of course, I mean,
I was brought up in school, we prayed every morning in school, we read the Bible. But
That's
if
when the
we'd
politics took over.
if we'd have continued doing that in our schools instead of abandoning all that, I think our kids in our schools would be a lot better shape than we are right now.
I can't disagree,
We
but there's.
took Christ out and put everything else in. So,
Can't disagree, but there's also a reason why the pilgrims fled to come here.
I think the overall intent of the resolution was to support the Attorney General's defense of the right to freedom of speech and the right to freedom to participate in a religion of choice.
It's a step back in the right direction for this nation. Again, over 200 years, this resolution would not have even been necessary. But again, I would make the amendment of removing the reference to John Jay's quote, which, folks, is historic. I've used it many, many times, along with the other components of this resolution.
I'd say
Judge, I
let's-
agree with your statement exactly, that that's what it's for, to me, is freedom of speech and the freedom of religion and to pray in public.
It's our freedom. Period.
So, I'm thinking out loud here, Master Ellis, rather than a potential from what you're hearing from the magistrates of not being in complying with the statements of the resolution, especially the now therefore aspect of it, would it be appropriate to reconsider a motion to withdraw until further discussion? It would be appropriate?
I fear with what we've heard, while I might go with that, that we're not gonna move any minds, I think what I would prefer is, and I believe by parliamentary procedure, Magistrate Salmon's request for tabling would take precedence over my motion that we accept this. And I would like to proceed with a vote because I'm not sure with the comments that we've had that while everything here is an historic quote of where we were before the 1960s or the 70s, I would prefer that we proceed to see if Magistrate Salmons gets a second on his.
I'll give a second on the table, that's fine. That gets us back.
I
to
don't
the
know
place.
under our guidelines if we have to take a vote on the motion that was seconded, initially made by Magistrate Ellis, seconded by Magistrate Short, or if we can, on precedence, take a motion to table the motion, and which has been seconded by Magistrate Cullen, made by Magistrate Salmons. I don't have
I'd
counsel
rather-
here to advise.
It's my understanding parliamentary procedure that
A motion
Magistrate
to
Salmons
table?
takes precedence for a vote first, and then if it's unsuccessful, then we go back to a vote on the resolution
Well,
as I would amend it.
I think very easily that Magistrate Salmons and myself can rescind our requests if we can possibly rescind your request. And represent this at a later date. So I think at the end, the same thing is gonna happen, so.
Well, essentially what you're saying is it would be tabled.
Either way, it's gonna be tabled, it's just at the formality of what we're talking.
I would.
And unfortunately, Chris did mention that he wasn't gonna be here today. He was gonna be late today. He's got something over at the high school that he needs to take care of, so.
All right,
So,
So we calling for the question for
the table, the motion to table, which
Call
was
for
seconded. Okay, all those in favor for tabling the proposed resolution, signify by saying aye.
Then come back at a later time.
yeah,
Yeah, the tabling
Okay.
doesn't dismiss.
All right. I say aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries to table the motion on the resolution until it can be discussed further and revisited, and we'll move forward.
Could I
Thank you,
add
Judge.
that I hope nobody takes this the wrong way or draws conclusions about other people. But what our discussion has been, it's been a fair discussion, everybody's had a chance to participate. It's very personal, and so, these are all good people here, so I hope
Oh,
it doesn't send
absolutely.
the wrong message.
and I wanna apologize for not bringing this up before court. So that was something that I should have done.
Yeah.
And,
I
sorry
think it's
about
so
that.
sensitive, it's a little, it's difficult to decide whether to bring it up, because it's a very sensitive subject. So, I understand, Jason.
It's easier in private than in public. So, anyway.
All right. Now,
All right.
next on my topic is appropriations. We want to discuss some appropriations. I did not watch the city commission vote last night. Was there any appropriations discussed during that proceeding?
I had trouble with
They didn't discuss anything on appropriations last night.
I watched only the first part.
Their budget meeting was a few days ago, and then they'll submit their, as what's understood to me is that they all will come back with a dollar figure and then it kind of gets averaged.
They should correct me, but I think they take it, as you said, and take it home and work on it and bring it back, and then they do some averaging.
Yep.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's kind of their.
I believe the mayor said they're working on it Thursday.
I believe so.
Yeah.
All right, we've got some appropriations discussion still ahead of us as it relates to EDP, EDA. There's a couple other, not latecomers, but there are a couple other small considerations that have made applications, I believe. And when does the court want to discuss that? You want to do a special call meeting? Because those are topics that we have to determine different appropriations and how we choose to proceed regarding EDP, EDA.
Let's just knock it out now.
Huh?
Let's just knock it out now. It's not fair to Darlene to push this further down the road. We're asking for her to come forth with a budget, so.
Yeah, she can't until we know what we're gonna do.
This is easy for me. I make a motion, we appropriate $0 to EDP. And then, if you need it separate, I would say that we, appropriate $200,000 to EDA.
Okay.
Do you want that separate, or how do you want that? Do you want them one subject at a time, or?
Yeah.
All right, so my motion is to present $0, or appropriate $0 to EDP.
I think we still got some work to do on that issue. So I'm not ready for that vote yet. I think we still need to do some more work.
What do you mean? We've had their packet for a month now.
I'll second your motion.
Thank you, sir.
We have a motion to fund EDP at 0.
I just remember when EDA was presented, it wasn't presented, it was basically presented as a land acquisition, and to my knowledge, we don't have any land that we're acquiring at this point in time, so I'm not sure what that $200,000 is to be used for.
Well, that's not part of this motion, but luckily, this doesn't start till July and doesn't go till the following June. So hopefully within that time period, we'll find some land and we'll be able to use that money for, and we'll be able to actually kickstart our economic development and get it going down, which has been lacking.
But I disagree with all of that.
With all due respect,
That's
Madam
fine.
Gay, we sat in here probably 4 months ago, and you and I debated that very issue. So it has been before this court before that there would be a complete restructuring to where EDA would have the complement of employees, save perhaps one at EDP. So to clear the record, that has been discussed by this court in great detail, because you and I discussed and debated it, I'd say for at least 12 or 15 minutes.
So the city of Danville, they're not gonna fund EDP at all?
We
I don't
don't
know.
know.
They won't do it until Thursday, but I don't wanna wait another 2 weeks.
I heard that they was, so.
Well, then they
I
can.
wanna see the structure of what we're funding before we fund it. And if this is the first time I'm seeing it, we need to.
There's not technically a structure, because they're still under a
Discussion.
piece.
So that's my point, we're not ready for this.
How do we move forward on the budget if we?
Part of this conversation is, according to the packet that they gave us, there was $380,000 as of March 30th in their
In the
account,
bank.
in the bank. So it's not like they don't know where their next meal's coming from.
They don't have a director.
They don't have the expenses that they used to have.
Correct. There's no census. And frankly, I'm not comfortable putting the taxpayer dollars out there on an organization that is not produced, you know, and even
Disagree
themselves.
with that.
Well,
That's false.
That's great, but, well, no, because even, you know, they wanted to say these great projects that they have going on over on the bypass, and then come to find out that those projects are stalled and there's no communication happening or whatever, so. You know, I mean, it's great to bring a restaurant in every now and then, but you need good paying jobs. We talk about affordable housing. You cannot have affordable housing when you've got just these, you know, $2.13 an hour jobs. It's just not, it's not.
Well, we don't know as of yet if the other group has even brought anything in. Have they bought any land, or they?
It's
doesn't
not been
exist.
formed yet.
It doesn't exist, so
It's
what
not
are we
technically-
funding?
Hey, that's what I'm saying, well, I mean, I'm like
What are we
him,
funding?
But again, within the next year-
200,000 that we.
Everything should be funded if we can move forward and stop being stalled.
We have an
One
entity
is
right
there
now.
There is a meeting tomorrow afternoon at Center Works at 3 p.m. if I'm not mistaken.
You're
Correct.
I would strongly encourage everyone in this court to attend that. Okay?
You'll see the structure at that point.
And you'll see,
Is the EDP gonna be there as well?
yeah, they've been invited.
Okay, good.
I don't know if all
I think we've gotta
17
get,
will be there.
no, we've gotta get everybody in the same room and work this out, because it's gotta be a private-public partnership.
It can be.
This is
It
just
just
moving
can't be-
towards a public
Can't be one that's
partnership.
been failing us for years, and we've just been dumping money.
That
into
is not true.
It is
That is
true.
false.
The median household income in Boyle County is embarrassing because we have no economic development. At the last EDP meeting, you were there, they even suggested and said that they made mistakes over the last several years when it came to employment. So they're admitting that it's
And
failed.
performance.
And performance. So there's everyone else has got great big things happening around, great big announcements. You know, the governor's going all over the state or whatever. He's not coming here. So
Lincoln County gained
yeah.
at our loss.
Exactly, and then we were told, oh no, they're gonna keep that building and they're gonna do something special for a specific retailer.
Casey County gained at our loss.
Yeah, well, guess what? They lost that, and now it was, you know, the building was sold to somebody else. So that
I
wasn't
think
even true.
it's unfortunate that we forget that we wouldn't have any of the industrial,
That's a different
projects
entity.
that we
That's a
have.
different entity.
It's all part of the same, and I
Oh, you
I get
can't say that
frustrated
because they have to
we
separate
forget that we
legally.
are part of the partnership, that we are the partnership,
Well,
and
I
so.
thought we intended to, correct me if I'm wrong, the money that we're putting up every year for EDP, right? What's wrong? I thought we decided a long time ago that that amount of money, we were going to put it in EDA.
We hadn't technically decided.
We
that.
haven't.
But that's what, that was our.
that's where the discussions have started to gear
Several months
towards.
back.
Several months back.
We
That
have a motion on the
it's
floor, but
broken,
let
we
me
need to
say
fix
this.
it.
If you all would prefer to wait and not, and it's only informational, to hear this meeting tomorrow at 3 p.m. at CenterWorks, and then come back, you'll have to have a special called meeting to determine whether or not you wanna move forward with funding EDP or not. And then, after you hear tomorrow's discussion, whether or not you wanna fund EDA or not, at what level. But somebody is gonna have to get funded so we can move forward on a budget.
I know.
Well, the way I look at it, there's only two of us is still for EDP anyway. Sound like the rest of the bunch is wanting to go ahead and move on and not give them anything, so I think it just, just delaying the process. But wait,
John, you had your hand raised.
All of the facts in the work that's been done by ADA has not been presented. I think it will be presented tomorrow at 3. Or a good portion of it, to where everybody will have a better understanding of what work has been, because there's been a lot of work. Started in December, meeting every week, been a lot of work, a lot of time spent. So I can understand why there's some not knowing out there.
Yeah, so I haven't seen any of that.
And I can understand that. I think tomorrow at 3, there'll be a lot of information presented that may help clear that up.
And I'm not sure I'll be able to be there tomorrow at 3, I can see,
But
I know I can't do it.
I was at several of the meetings.
Okay.
I wasn't invited. I sat in on the meetings. I was allowed to come in there, allowed to gain the information that I needed to. But A, you know, EDP is not working. B, it's not fair to push more work on Darlene and expect her to come through with this budget all of a sudden. Oh, by the way, we've made a decision finally, and here, we want you to have this budget by tomorrow. That's not fair.
So you're just gonna kick our private partners out?
I think our private partners actually kicked us out a while ago, but
That's not true.
they're
That
they're
is
running
false.
around like they're the ones in charge,
False.
telling us what to
False.
do.
That is
So,
not true.
well, I mean, that's where we differ in opinions, but that's all right, so. call the
Judge,
question.
I think your idea of what he said 3 is a very worthy idea, also.
It doesn't belay the fact that we have a motion that's been seconded on the floor. So,
There's no way I can get there at 3 o'clock tomorrow.
It's great. So, no one's.
And I don't know about Jamie, I mean,
it will be a real good opportunity to hear what EDA has been working on for a while. That many of us were at the CenterWorks presentation by EDP where one side of the story was presented. This is the other side of the story.
Well, can they come and present that to the court at the next court meeting? That would make the most sense.
It won't
Would
be,
make the
it
most
won't be
sense.
up on
We
the
got a
window,
budget.
budget-wise.
You're the chair of the finance.
Well, I mean,
know
we
that.
just gotta plug that number in. That's one number.
That's one number.
And I mean, and I think, how's it got, what is it, what makes up the $200,000 that they're requesting? I have no idea.
Okay, so if that's the case, we'll just plug in
Why not
zero.
plug in the 70
We'll not plug in the zero.
that we've been plugging in for the EDP?
The money that we had was going towards paying the chairman's, the director's salary. The director's not even there. They haven't even hired a director.
Well, who we paying in the EDA?
We're setting money aside for future land acquisition.
Also,
Okay,
there's another.
I'm good with that.
There's another element to that.
I'm good with that.
So how about this?
That's been my point all along. The EDA's role, its sole purpose is land acquisition.
I disagree
not.
with
It
Salt
is
Lake.
I agree with that.
It is
That is
not.
where we agree.
No, the EDA is where we start. That's the foundation.
That is what,
When
go
you-
back and look at what the purpose is of the EDA.
I
And-
called for the question.
Yeah, I've called for it twice, but it's okay.
Judge,
Anyway.
what is the purpose of the EDA? What S we approved in this room?
It also has other than property acquisition. There is a matter of interpretation that would legally allow EDA to function solely for the purpose of economic development with
It didn't
an
say
aspect
that.
of.
It did not say that.
Yeah, I think it does.
It's
It
in
was
there.
said
Did
by
not say
me
that.
4 months ago, and.
And I
we
made
can
the
go back
point
and
when we
check.
approved that,
Mhm.
is the purpose of this land acquisition, and every one of you all said yes.
No, we did not.
Yes,
No.
go back and look at
A
the
purpose.
A purpose of it
I
is
would
land
be happy to.
acquisition, yeah.
The purpose.
No,
No,
A
we did
purpose,
not.
not
a
the.
purpose, not the.
Questions be called, Judge.
All
Anyway,
right.
so, if this is the way we're gonna run, there's no, you can plug in, if we wanna put a figure in there, we can plug in 0, and then if everybody is moved by attending the meeting tomorrow, that they wanna change it, we can come back and we can change it. But we need to move forward, and really, we're not gonna move forward with EDP, but, in my 2 cents, but.
So the motion, if I remember after all the discussion, is on this motion, is to fund EDP at 0.
At 0.
Is that the motion as I understand it?
That's the motion.
and fund the other one at 200,000.
Well,
No.
we'll do
that's
that one
separate.
separate.
That's
Okay.
separate.
All right.
We have to be able to allow Darlene to do her job.
And, all right. Just because there is so, apparently not a consensus here, I would ask those in favor raise their right hand of the motion as presented. Okay? Those who oppose, raise their right hand. If everybody sees the same count that I did, it passed 4-2. Now, how do we want to proceed from this point? Do we want to proceed with more information tomorrow and have a special call session to determine the feasibility of EDA's funding or not?
I'll make a motion, we approve to put $200,000 aside for EDA when it's fully formed.
I would second that motion, but I would like to clarify, if I can, with Magistrate Cullen. I know that one of the architects of the EDA structure has suggested that we might move ahead with incremental release as things develop.
That's what we
out
do.
of that $200,000.
Release of information,
Release of
Payment.
funding.
funding, oh, okay, this one.
I'm not the finance guy. This guy to my right is certainly a
I think that's
business.
generally what we do. We send it out in increments. We don't.
So it wouldn't be necessary to make an amendment?
It doesn't hurt.
A quarterly release with considerations? I would like to make the motion that it be a quarterly
We're just
release to
issuing a blank
EDA.
check. That's what we're doing.
No.
I would like to make an amendment to your motion that it be a quarterly release, $50,000 per quarter, with considerations each time that we're scheduled to release those funds.
I'm gonna back you up here a second. I'm asking simply for a placeholder and an amount that when fully formalized can come and request the funds.
I'll recede from my comments.
So is that a motion that
That's
you
my-
want a
that's-
placeholder on the budget of $200,000 once the EDA is fully
Correct.
functional,
Yes.
formalized and
I do like that motion better, because then I do like the fact that we actually get to see what our taxpayer dollars are funding
Which would be nice
before
for
we
once.
fund them.
I agree.
We're part of the EDP, I can't emphasize that enough.
No, we're not.
So
That's
if
a-
we have not been involved, it's our own fault, and
No.
we are economic
I can say the same
development
thing about you
around
not coming to
this
the EDA
table.
meetings. If you weren't involved in the EDA meetings, that's your own fault. They were having them since December to kind of try to form
They
this.
met at the time I work, so I could
I
not be there.
understand that. I understand that, and I'm sorry, but you can't.
Was there a second to the motion? Mr. Sandwich, did you second that motion?
Yes,
Okay, I thought I heard you, but I'm
yes,
not
I
sure.
did, and, I'd like to clarify the motion again. The way that the motion was made is that we set aside $200,000 to be distributed to EDA as we see such, right?
When they come back to us with a.
When they come back with a formulated,
Now,
functional.
That was Jason's motion. I'll
Yeah.
second
Sir,
that.
thank you.
okay, now we can discuss it. Sounds like we already have, huh?
Yeah.
And again, I do support that with the idea that we actually get to see an entity that we're funding, which hopefully will be a combination of the EDA and the EDP, with the EDA as the primary public land acquisition entity of
I
that
would
organization.
strongly suggest reshuffling your schedule, Mark, if you can do it, be there, because you will see what you just asked to see.
Jamie, I'm sitting here looking back and thinking about the amount of money this court's put in the EDP.
Taxpayer money.
Taxpayer money that, I feel guilty about voting for that in the past years, because best I can just figure in my head, we've donated taxpayers' money in an amount of over $1 million. Now gentlemen, that's a lot of money that we could use to buy something else, maybe an ambulance or maybe a new truck for the road department. You know, we've got to be more aware where this money's going. Cause this is not our money, this is taxpayers. We're guardians of this money.
Well, again, I go back to the fact that we are part of EDP. I don't know how many times I have to say it, but.
I'm gonna disagree with you. I don't think we're part of EDP
Look at the
now.
structure of
I don't think
EDP
I
and
don't
see
think
who's
it-
listed as part of EDP.
I would say look at the structure and see who has the loudest voice. It's definitely not the city or the county, so it's not who they listen to. They come in here barking orders at us,
Because
so.
Magistrate Ellis serves on the EDP board, the judge serves
Well, you've got a
on the EDP
17-person EDP board that drowns a vote out and a voice out pretty
Mayor
easily.
serves on the EDP board. I think all the
17.
citizens that serve on that board are interested in moving our community forward in a very positive way and work hard at doing that in a positive way. And give a lot of time and a lot of money to make that happen.
I don't see that as a question. I think if you wanna learn the full story, which hasn't been out there yet, then come tomorrow, or if necessary, the chair may very well
Come
do
here.
a special meeting
A
here.
special call meeting
Special call meeting, I think he would
that
do
both
that.
of y'all
I
can
think-
attend.
I think it's
that's
un-
another potential.
Given the schedule of the chair, I don't think it's, I think if a presentation, if something's going to
I
be
think
presented.
you'd be willing to do it,
I
though.
think you do
But-
it too.
But if you want to hear all sides, I believe tomorrow there will be time for public comment where, you know, other comments from other people. And so I think asking him to come in again, I don't know, if you can make it, I think it'll be well worth your time to do it. I mean, I've rearranged my schedule as well.
Calls the question.
All right.
Look like you're coming down with something, Jamie.
The question, the motion on the floor is to put a marker in the budget of $200,000 against the EDA, Economic Development Authority, and that's what it is, and then until such time that they are fully functional and formalized and as the authority that the ordinance has stated that they will be. Is that a correct statement?
I think included in there, if I don't want to misstate it, but that they would then come and present their need,
Yeah,
their needs.
request for needs.
I think it's a reasonable expectation,
Yep.
That's fine.
okay?
We got my emotion on video, we're good.
All right. Motion has been called for. All those in favor, raise the right hand. Unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen, for that. Okay?
All right, we done?
We're moving on for now. Now, Darlene, you're up.
Motion adjourned.
No,
Died for lack of a second.
we have to do this. Okay.
Excuse me, before she gets started, I apologize for this.
You're fine.
We got a request, you got a letter from Red Cross, American Red Cross.
Yes.
Yeah.
Appropriations. That hasn't been discussed, has it, before?
Is that in here? Okay.
It came, and they asked for $2,500.
Yep.
To,
There's two small appropriations, Darlene, just give us a minute.
Okay.
There's two smaller type appropriations that have made a request to us for assistance. One of them is Red Cross requested $2,500. I had a meeting with the regional manager, and they have been very engaged in here. And
it is in their Google Drive. You
It's
do
in-
have a
it's in
copy
the
in your
Google
Google
Drive.
Drive.
And
of
the
request.
other functional request comes from, was she, what's his last name?
Mhm.
Anyway, the gentleman who puts together 800, 900 backpacks filled with stuff that he gives away to kids at school backpack program, block party. They have raised some money, and in order to do it effectively, they have a big, shebang out at Millennium Park, and they give these away.
It's a fantastic.
It's a fantastic program. He's still in need of some money. I'll tell you the amount that he says he's in need of is $7,000. And I haven't asked him where the money he's got or where he's expecting to get more, but he approached us, approached me with that information, and that is a huge community outreach for kids across the the city school system, in all schools, Ogden, Tolliver, all schools in the city system that get a free backpack to start their.
I'd like to make a motion that we support that particular organization.
Second.
And in the same motion, I'd like to add that we do not fund Red Cross.
Do not.
Do not.
Okay.
You wanna give a little history, Phil, on that? We
Well,
went through that,
I don't know whether they want to hear it or not.
let this be quick.
Well, let's separate the two, since
Yeah, I think,
there's a,
so,
let's separate the two, if you don't mind.
so you got a first and a second. Discussion on this
Red
is,
Cross, yeah.
isn't it straightforward?
Okay, I'll
This last
withdraw
name.
the
Yeah,
motion.
forward, yeah.
Okay,
I'll withdraw the motion on Red Cross and just leave it single.
And I'll hold my second. yeah.
so I think maybe we do the same thing we did with EDA, put a placeholder out there for a certain dollar. Because I think we need more information.
We do.
Is this
We
an
do.
actual organization? Are we donating this to a private person? Because I think that there's some things there that he does a fantastic job and has done it, I think for the last couple of years, if I remember correctly. But, it seems to me we might be just donating to a person.
I don't wanna do that, that's the wrong approach.
So-
But the service is there, so the motion would be to put a 7,000 placeholder, or 6,000, 5,000.
I was-
Give me something.
I was wondering if the city has been approached as well, and maybe we can.
They have not made a decision.
Okay. So, maybe we can split it with the city? If,
I disagree.
okay, I mean, it's your motion, that's fine.
Yes.
So that's,
I make the motion to fund them. Matter of fact, as you see fit, Judge, but I don't know the amount that they really want.
But we will have a presentation of exactly who it goes to and what it's used for, just like anything else.
Okay.
We
Okay.
can't give to an individual.
No,
It would help to know the structure that we're
Absolutely.
Yeah,
talking about.
exactly right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I
to
think
be sure it fits our,
we need more
so
information.
basically,
Our
this is a
guidelines.
placeholder. This is a placeholder budgetarily, because this happens in August, just late July, early August, just before school starts. So does that work okay for the court as far as what the process and procedures?
I think so.
I don't agree with the amount.
Okay?
Churches, a lot of our churches do this already. Give out backpacks. I know we do it at our church. We give out backpacks to kids that's in our church and stuff, and
I know
I
Calvary,
assume other
Calvary
churches do the
has
same
always
thing.
done.
Cavalry gives out backpacks?
And,
Well, I thought they participated in this program, because
They
I
may.
heard that they do.
They may.
That's kind of where I was hoping we would get a little more.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
may,
we don't have
they
enough
may
information
support
on
this
this.
same person.
I think I still tend to agree with a placeholder. It could come down, guys, budget, because it's not gonna happen until next FY. If we do this, if we have a placeholder that the court were to approve, then it could come down based on the increased information that we get from this, these young men that are doing this.
And and I think we kind of need a breakdown of where these funds are going.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, we
well, we're not.
not comfortable with the amount, and I do want more information, and I am curious to hear about Red Cross, so let's call for a question.
As a placeholder.
This is as a placeholder, right now, the motion is, did you second the motion? The motion is
Tom seconded.
fully funding at 7, placeholder,
Well,
until we get more information.
if I could ask Magistrate Sammons that we put a placeholder of 7, but when we reconvene, we'll actually come back with a firm number then. It's not automatically going to be approved at 7.
The placeholder is just that, it's
Okay.
not.
No more, you
it's
could
not-
amend it to say no more than 7.
It's not the obligated
Right,
distributable
okay,
amount.
just as long as there's an understanding with court that this is, when we come back, sometimes we tend to, little time gets on our mind, and we tend to forget the passion that we have right now, and so I just wanna make sure that if we come back, we're automatically,
In
not
fact,
gonna say that,
I
hey,
would
well, we
like
approved him at
Mr.
7, so
Ford
that's
to
what
come
we're
in
gonna.
next court session and make his presentation.
I think that would be well too.
You want me to withdraw the motion?
No.
If you would state it as no more than 7, giving us the latitude, I would second that.
Okay, let's add that in there.
I'm also going to.
I second that.
And I can do this after the vote, but we need to firmly adhere to our cutoff date on appropriations. We can't just keep leaving the door
we're
open.
setting some precedent.
Yeah, this is a.
Okay, that's a court decision.
Off the question, let's move right along.
All right, call the question, the motion is to put a $7,000 up to placeholder in the budget, to support the community backpack program as administered, with further information to be presented to this body at a later date before issuance of any, finances. So, go ahead.
No, I guess I wanna make sure that this gentleman does not plug this $7,000 number into his budget thinking that he's got $7,000. I don't wanna be misleading in that. I think we need to be careful with that so that.
Up
he-
to.
Okay.
Up to covers that.
Yeah, but he needs to be aware that this may be $3,000 or $2,000 and not
Yeah, and I'll invite him to come present.
as he builds his budget for
Okay.
backpack program.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
I make a motion that we do not give Red Cross any of the taxpayers' money. And there's a long history behind that, as Magistrate Key would remember very well.
Do you want to take time to discuss the history, or do you just want to leave the motion? Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion has been made by Magistrate Salmon, second by Magistrate K. Wood to not appropriate any money in support of the Red Cross. I will ask for discussion. If there is,
What's
Make it-
the
make
amount of
it-
the line item right now, Darlene?
do what?
None?
Nothing.
I didn't think we had in the past.
Yeah, it is not. Been in the past. So, not hearing any discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're ready for Darlene.
Darlene, I apologize for
No, I was perfect.
bringing something up.
That's fine. First thing, I have a budget amendment. This was a CAECO loss control grant for $6,350 that was going towards jail staff uniforms, so.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Okay, motion approved, Major McCollum. Who was first on the buzzer? Magistrate Salmon was second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Vote, the budget amendment is approved. All right, next.
Second, I needed to add a new line item to the budget for, memorial services.
This is not a big ticket item
No,
at all.
I added $300.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Motion to approve the line item inclusion of, for memorial services made by Magistrate Cohen, second by Magistrate Salmons. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and motion carries. Thank you.
Okay. Next is a copy of a report, and I was fortunate enough to run across a treasurer that had something very similar to this. And, kinda did a copy. So, it is her treasurer's monthly settlement, so therefore I made it my treasurer's monthly settlement. Any, additions, anything that you all see or would feel comfortable looking at?
Yeah,
forward?
Bill, how do we get this thing? Hey, Google Docs, if it's scanned a certain way, how do we move it over? Do you know? Okay.
Yeah, that needs to be put in the file that way.
Did I have it upside down?
No,
Sideways.
vertical.
It was backwards.
You can lock the screen.
You turn
Yeah.
it
Oh,
that way.
yeah.
You see
My
it?
fault, my fault.
You had it upside down.
So, Jamie, you're looking at it right there.
I know, I call that taco neck.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, guys, I'll show you a
Taco neck.
quick little tip. What they said is, if you go up here, scroll down, you can hit this little lock button, it'll lock your screen. You can turn it sideways where it won't move. Right here, I'll show you.
I like seeing this.
I do
This is
too, I
something
think
we
that's
really
good.
need.
That's very
It'll
helpful.
lock your screen for a little bit, and then you can
And
scroll
it
down.
should be able to have this at the beginning of each month, just bear in mind when
Actually, this is even more fun.
when the day falls, but this should be something I should be able to get done by the first.
I
of the
really
month.
like this.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Show you.
For my, the finance committee, my bank rec should be, entered in today.
Okay, great.
Into our file.
Great, thank you.
Also, well, and my little budget update that you all just keep messing around with me on, I was like 99.8% finished, so that's okay. We'll go back and I'll make a few little tweaks. I did have a $200,000 placeholder in effect, as we were talking about for that, but I will need to go in and add the additional for the appropriation. Just so everybody knows, I've put a lot of time and energy into, I've changed a lot of numbers. All these in yellow are, they're changes that had to be made because numbers were entered, or just to get them ready for the new system for Springbrook, so that we could have a nice clean system going in. And I've had to add some funds. I had to add a couple new funds, and so there have been a few things that have taken a little bit of extra time, but that's okay. We're right at the finish line now, so.
And when and we'll be getting the budget in like on our files. soon,
Yeah,
we
I
hope?
can, yeah.
At least what we have anyway.
This one, yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll add in that, the up to $7,000. I'll go ahead and I'll just put it in at 7, and that way it can always come down. But I'll go ahead and I'll add that into this, and then I'll scan and have it on everybody's iPad so that they can see it. So,
Perfect.
all right.
Good.
And should be today or early tomorrow.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Darlene. All right, next, Bill Nichols. Bill probably wants some money, I guess.
Not me.
But
Not me. I never asked for money for me. As you all know, back in, what was it, Jason? February or something like that, when our HR director had an issue walking down the hallway, asked me to look into at least getting Wi-Fi so that we could do that sort of thing. And it kind of ballooned into a full-blown project when we found out that it could possibly qualify for ARPA funds. So I guess what I would like today is a motion to move forward with Bluegrass IT services in the wiring of our courthouse and the Government Services Center, and then we can discuss that once we have the motion on the floor.
Do we have a month?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right.
Right, made by Matthew Gaines, second by Matthew Sanders, is that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
When we started this project, I went to one of my trusted vendors and looked at some Aruba products, and I had Aruba representatives come in and survey the courthouse and do some things. For the Wi-Fi and the network that I'm looking to put into the courthouse, they were wanting $51,000 for that equipment alone. They recommended that a company, RTI, come in and give us an estimate for wiring the courthouse properly with Cat 6A, which is a newer cable that they've got 7 and 8 now, but the Cat 6A will accommodate a 10 gigabyte bandwidth, which I think will serve the courthouse long after other people are sitting in our seats. With that combined with the price from Aruba or SHI, the total came to right at $144,000. RTI mentioned that they could price the Aruba equipment, so I had them price it, and they came in a little bit lower. It came in at about $143,000. I finally got a hold of Bluegrass IT Services, which is a local company here in Boyle County, and they've quoted me a system with Ubiquity, which is a good product. It's one that we use out at the jail for their Wi-Fi, and have had a lot of good service out of, and their bid came in at $135,000. Now, several of the reasons that I chose Bluegrass IT Services is, one, they also included a Sophos gateway for the EMS offices, or that government services center, the front part of the offices, which is the same gateway that we use for the jail and the courthouse. This sets this up to start where we can tie all three of these networks together into one network and make it much easier to manage for any IT person. One of the second reasons was they would be a big help in the event of a natural disaster. And if we had to get something up and running quick, they would be right here in town ready to help us out. And I think that probably my biggest reason is they're Boyle County. If we're going to use these ARPA funds, I can't think of a better place to use them than in Boyle County. So, my hope is that we could move forward with the Bluegrass IT bid and then move forward to the ARPA committee to see if this would qualify, which I believe it will, for infrastructure improvement for our county.
So, the one thing I don't see here is old wiring removal. Is Bluegrass IT not going to take care of that?
They can if we need to. It is included in their bid, and I apologize for not adding that into that, but they did include that in that 135. Yes, sir.
In the event of a disaster, how big is their staff? And what guarantees do they have?
More, they would probably, what I would count on them for is more expertise than manpower, necessarily. But one of the things that we do right now is, that was set up long before I got here, a company called NetGame, which is a company out of Lexington, and they're a national IT support group. Monitors our server and our network to make sure that things stay up, and it's something that we've done for a long time, and I've just never changed it. I think that if Bluegrass IT Services puts in this network, they would be a better candidate, if we want somebody else to monitor it in case the bus hits Bill. They're a great candidate for that as well. And again, it keeps the monies coming back into the county rather than sending it out to Lexington or wherever. But when we move forward with Springbrook and the other moves that we're making with e-jail at the detention center, EMS is already totally online. Folks, once we get Springbrook in and e-jail in, there will be no reason that we would ever lose a second running the county's business, no matter what happens in the county. As long as we can have an internet connection somewhere, we'll be able to keep this county up and running.
Which, you know, if we did that happen, FirstNet would come in here with a mobile.
Absolutely.
We'd be up.
That's free of charge. They would get us up and communicating with the world free of charge.
And Judge, you commented about Mayfield and what happened there.
Oh, yeah, they were not quite as prepared as we are right now. And I attribute that to Bill and this vision, and this is part of it, that I truly believe that in a catastrophic event, it may not be on this site, but if we can get through the mobile systems that FirstNet would bring in here, we can tie all this out of the cloud, bring it back into fruition, and know what we have. We can write checks. We can go do whatever we need to do to communicate with the rest of the world, and that's going to be important in a time of a catastrophic disaster. Mayfield didn't have that. They had some preparedness.
And that's what we're going to see here. We keep making a lot of these changes to be prepared for something. We don't know what it's going to be, but we have to understand that we're not going to be prepared for everything. But if we have the basics, this is beyond basics.
And I'll be honest with you, the network system that I'm proposing here is going to tie the county together to where I can maintain and watch over the jail, the government service center, and the courthouse all under one place.
That overlord.
That's the
overlord title was a joke.
I know, but I took
You've taken it to a whole new level.
Heart. Yeah. But the big thing that will help with that is going to be our bandwidth and our ability to do our work efficiently here in the courthouse, and we'll also be able to offer, the guest Wi-Fi services as well for those that are in the courthouse, and all those will be on separate networks. I'll be able to get rid of a lot of the extra routers we have floating around in the county attorney's offices and stuff like that by putting them on VLANs, which is just basically the same thing. It's just they got their own private network. It's just all tunneled through one, and at that point, hopefully sometime in the summer too, I might be able to move up the service to where we have a little bit better bandwidth download and upload services as well for not too much money. But that's my discussion. Do y'all have any questions for me or concerns or?
Have you looked at any grants or anything? I mean, I understand we've got ARPA money that we can pay for this with, but we keep kind of throwing everything towards ARPA.
I have not. There's one lady I've been in touch with that is looking into some possible grants that might help with this as well, but I have not heard back from that yet.
So your recommendation is Bluegrass IT?
That would be my recommendation for this, yes.
Make that motion.
Second. Okay, motion made by Magico and.
Okay, y'all are letting me spend all the money.
I think we've
thought
already
we
made that motion.
We already had that.
But
made
I was
that
confused.
motion. Yeah.
I was confused about the motion beforehand, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Because we approved something and I'm like, and then we started talking about.
No,
No, we
already made
didn't
that
approve
motion.
it. I just wanted
That
to get
was
the
just a
motion out there so
discussion.
we could talk about it.
All right,
Yeah, we don't do that.
questions, questions, discussions? I think what I've seen in my time here with the court is that Bill has incrementally and taken us on steps to really invigorate our connectivity into the 21st century to help us with stability and communication skills that we had previously not had any degree of reliability with. So I think this is nearly not the last, but nearly the last piece of the puzzle to match our upgraded web page provision and some of our server strengths and high-speed internet off of Kentucky Wired and others that help us really be providing a great service. Now, we got to bear in mind that we need the hardware to operate these kinds of things, and that is a continual program of upgrading all the time based on, technology. But I really see this is we're walking down the hall with our iPhones and iPads and things like that. This will give us total coverage in a facility that has got some age on it and some really structural challenges for us to have good, strong signal. This will help that in all regards going forward.
This basically, I think, is the foundation of everything that we're trying to do. Once this network is in place, most of this equipment should last anywhere from 5 to 7 years before we have to even start thinking about upgrading or replacing at that point. And it may last longer than that, but typically with electronics that are used 24/7, and these would be on 24/7, you're looking at 5 to 7 years on this type of equipment.
You feel the wiring is still going to be sufficient at that time?
Yes.
I mean, we've been using Cat5 for years.
Forever.
Well, and that's a lot of the things down in I can see just speed differences even between the judge's office and when I do it up in my office, simply because he's fed by Cat5. And I'm right off the router.
So he's a lot faster than I am.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
So I might
But
fire
it's,
stick.
but also one of the things that this will do, part of this that is kind of in the $10,000 of education and setup, putting these things on VLANs where we control the traffic rather than just having the traffic try to find its way back to where it needs to go, will speed things up as well. And I think that it will be a considerable improvement, and I think it's something that we can build our technology on in the future and do very well with.
I'll call for the question.
All right, question has been called for. This is to accept the motion to accept the Bluegrass IT services at the stipulated projected cost of several that were presented, and to rewire this building and places in the county government. All those in favor of the motion as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and that motion carries, Bill.
Thank you,
Hold on.
gentlemen. Now, what is our next step to move at least to get
Well,
the,
Well, we need,
That was gonna be my question, is when the three of us can get together to kind of make some discussions about ARPA stuff.
yep,
If we need to make, do we need a second part of that? To-
Yeah,
I'll
the
make the
ARPA.
motion that we submit this to the ARPA committee.
yep.
for
I would like to do that
recommended
for an immediate,
Second.
so we can budget and get approval if that's what happens, not to be presumptuous, to move forward with it. So I need a motion to pass this,
Make that motion.
onto the ARPA committee for review and action. And it was made by Magistrate Gay and seconded by Magistrate Kaywood. Okay? Anybody have any questions on that motion? And this was for the proposed amount or projected estimated cost with Bluegrass IT. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Sir.
135,000,
Yeah.
295.
thank you for your time, appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
He's thinking about all the new toys he's getting.
I am.
All right, Mike, looks like you're up.
Woke him up.
Hope you're not asking for
Thank you,
money.
Judge, thank you, Court.
Hope you're not asking for money, Mike.
No, sir, no, sir, easy one today. We should have open lieutenant position like you posed for 14 days.
I'll give him whatever he wants as long as he shows up to my house.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, who made the motion?
Jamie.
Jamie and Gay and seconded by right, Magistrate Short, to post and go through the hiring process for our lieutenant position. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Judge.
I'm gonna take a minute real quick just to brag on Director Rogers' people. We had a horrific crash on 52 about a week ago, and two individuals both had to be life flighted. One was able to make it over to Ephraim to get stabilized, but then flew out to UK, and the other one had to go to UK right away. And just watching, there was 3 buses that ended up showing up there, and just watching them work, you know, I'm freaking out, but just watching the way they work and how professional they are, and just, I mean, we talked about it earlier in our committee meeting, they you know, the amount of lives that they touch and save is incredible, and so I appreciate, and that was a rough day for them. I mean, it was call after call that day, and I stopped in that night over to the Government Service Center just to kind of check on them, and they were wore out, but they were ready to go. In fact, I think when I was leaving, they got another tone. So, you know, money well spent by this county.
Oh, yeah.
How many calls last month?
We ended last month on 528.
528 lines.
Yeah, we've been over 500 since last April.
Mike, what, I seen a situation, Sunday, I believe it was, we were heading to election on one of our routine routes the other day. And we didn't see it, but it just happened. There's a SUV, I assume it stripped this Cadillac, just tore it in two. And the SUV was in Gary County side, and the Cadillac was on the bridge. Now, were you all out there for that?
Seems like I remember that run. Is that on
I never seen very.
on 34?
I'm sorry?
Where was it at again?
Right on 34.
Yeah, yeah.
At Harrington Lake at the bridge.
Yeah.
The Cadillac
Yeah.
was sitting
Yeah.
on the bridge,
Yeah.
and the SUV was on Gary County side.
Yeah.
Both of them just.
Yeah, we would just notify Gary County that, you know, it's on the line.
Who's responsible for taking, my question is, who's responsible?
Most time both will
Just show
respond,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel brings a great point. I would love to know, actually, when maybe if you can break it out, how many mutual aid runs you guys respond to as well.
Yeah.
I mean, is that counted in the 528, or is that?
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
counted in 528.
All right. I mean, just to see, because we always talk about regional things, and just how good a partner we are.
Yeah.
And I know it's reciprocated, but I
Right.
think us being kind of the larger of the surroundings,
we're
we respond to more than what we asked for.
Yeah, our staffing is a little better than,
I had,
we're kind of on an island for that.
I had the pleasure, and this is very important, and this, I want this on video for everybody. Last week, I went out and visited with Mike, and one of his paramedics goes by the nickname Kool-Aid. Anthony Godby. And what we got to experience was a gentleman that 5 years ago fell off 3.5 stories out of North Point and landed on the ground on his back. And he had such massive internal bleeding that if our EMS in their protocols more than likely had taken him straight to Lexington or something else, he probably would have died. If they called life flight in, he probably would have died. Their procedures saved his life, and this gentleman, whose name I won't mention, came in 5 years later just to show his appreciation for the life that was saved by Godby and who was it? Gammon, I think was his partner that day. But those are success stories that we hear frequently. We need to hear more of them, because the caliber of people that we have that are paramedics and EMTs in Boyle County, we are so truly blessed to have what we have, and we need to make it as strong as we can for everybody.
Well, the part that, I mean, I learn something every time I respond out to one of these calls and watch them, and you know, the helicopter came and it landed and it was there, and I felt like, man, this is taking forever. Why haven't they put them in the helicopter yet? But here it is, the crew from the helicopter and also our EMS crew that are stabilizing this person, getting this person, like, you can't just take them and throw them. There's a lot of things that have to be done in order for this person's life to be actually saved. And at that point, I didn't think this gentleman was going to make it, but I think he did end up making it, which was incredible, because he was thrown from the car. He was ejected from the car about 20 feet, and it was awful. But you know, just their training, their professionalism, just, I mean, it's more than just driving an ambulance. They're saving lives, and I don't think people understand the amount of education and the amount of professionalism that these guys have, and ladies, I'm sorry.
Moving right along.
Sometimes it takes a while to stabilize somebody.
It does. It really does.
They have to be stabilized.
We sometimes think about the physical aspect, and that this is a younger man's job, but there's also a tremendous mental aspect to it too.
I want to make a statement related to that accident, because Jason and I talked about it in his district. It's the argument for Route 52 being improved, because the residents, when they mow, are right there at the edge of the asphalt, and they mow going toward the traffic, knowing they may have to bail out. And I want to congratulate Jason and the judge for their aggressive behavior with the state to say, we need to do something.
Yeah, there's $1 million
that route.
to help, you know, redesign 52 and straighten, and it's all safety related, so that's a great thing going forward.
Yeah.
All right, and.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you all for your comments.
So, you got that joint?
We're gonna kind of do a little joint thing here before he says that.
Yeah.
One of the topics under mine is introduction or the proposal of the new, hiring a new employee.
Yep. So we interviewed 3 people total. We decided to recommend. Thomas Robertson. I couldn't remember his last name. Thomas Robertson. He has some managerial experience running the shop, and was able to meet all the things that I could think of that would qualify him to work on our ambulances. I'm really excited about it. I was telling our committee this morning, but we're ready to get him started and get him to work. And he told us 2 things. He said, I'm gonna save you a lot of money by on labor, and then the second way is by, and I haven't really thought of it before, but when you take your car somewhere to be worked on, they mark up the parts as well. So being able to save on labor, which is $95 an hour for us, for most local companies here in Boyle County, is going to save us a ton of money. So super excited to get him on board.
Along with the preventative maintenance.
Yes, along with really good preventative maintenance.
I don't know, I haven't talked to Steve about it, I think it was right.
Effective immediately, I guess.
I think it's Monday.
Monday? Is
Monday
it-
the 16th?
Huh?
Monday the 16th?
Yes.
Yes.
Darlene, was that something we did have budgeted for?
I have,
Not for this fiscal year.
I didn't do for this
But-
fiscal year, I have the budget worked up for next fiscal year.
So that's in there for that.
For those of
So we've gotta get
go
to,
forward.
we gotta get to June 30th this year.
Yeah, so, and that, I didn't know what his effective date was, so I didn't know exactly
Ronnie, you're freezing
what to
her
put
out.
in there for him. So
It's
I was
sitting on
gonna,
72.
I was gonna add those line items and so forth at the next meeting.
Okay.
Which is fine because that will go on payrolls, not for another
You will.
2 weeks after that anyway, I think. So
Right.
next week.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
3 weeks, actually.
What payroll is? Okay, even better.
all right, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is a motion to accept
Second.
it as an immediate hire? And made by Magic Gag, seconded by Magic Cullen,
Effective May 16th.
May 16th. Any questions? Comments? All of them, yes, ma'am.
Are you talking about the diesel?
Mm-hmm.
I have him starting May 23rd. Is that right?
There might be 2-week notice on his part.
It is.
Steve handled that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the 23rd.
It is?
Where's he coming
I thought it
from?
was just coming Monday, I'm sorry.
Where's he coming from?
But probably best not say right yet until,
Yeah.
until he is notified.
But he has a longer experience?
Yes.
He is certified.
Okay, moving right along.
And he's local.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries on for, May 23rd.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
I have 2 other items on the agenda. Items of business, and I don't know which ones, okay. We received our county road aid agreement. James looking
No, I'm sorry, I was just kidding her about the motion.
Okay, we received our county road aid agreement, and as part of that, you all have to approve a resolution accepting that, or
Make a
agreeing to
motion,
that.
we approve the resolution.
It's, you've got it in your packets, page 7 and 8, so. We have a motion to approve the resolution on the County Road Aid Cooperative Program Agreement. Is there a second?
Here.
Okay, second, Magic Cohen, second, Magic Ellis. Discussion.
Duane, I'm confused because in that inset paragraph at the top of the resolution, it references all roads referenced therein, and then down in the contract it also restates that, but I don't see the list of the roads. Don't they have to be attached, and we don't have that on the file?
This is all county roads. This refers to all county roads.
Okay,
Not,
all right.
not
Not
specific
any
ones.
group or specific.
Okay, as long, because the way it says therein suggests there might be
Yeah,
a
read,
dozen or more.
read that first paragraph right there, where all, fiscal court does hereby accept all roads and streets referred to in city contract as being part of the county road system.
Okay, it's a language
I
thing.
realize it is.
Okay, I'm fine with it, thank you.
Throw y'all in there to get that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion
And
passes.
this is what we
unanimously.
passed around in previous courts,
We all
where
had to
we all
sign
had to
it.
sign it, right?
Yes.
This is an annual thing.
Yes.
This is,
You
and,
got something to
it's
circulate?
about a 12% increase from last year, so. It's good.
Gas tax.
All right, press on there, Duane.
All right, the final item I had on the agenda was, we've been working on the, getting our roof repaired. We had some wind damage back earlier in the month, earlier in April.
Up here, on this building.
And, on the courthouse. And so we've, contacted our insurance company. The insurance company has sent an adjuster. He's been here and inspected the damage and has approved, replacing the south side of the west wing. We call it the west wing. The south side of the west wing, and then there's a little L off of that that comes over to a wall that divides this part of the building to that. He's approved replacing that section of the roof. We've got a quote for that from Boulder and Sons, who installed the roof initially, and the quote was a little over $16,000. And the adjuster has approved that. The insurance will cover that. we will be out the $5,000 deductible.
Did you just get one quote? Is that it?
Yes.
And these are compositions.
I don't want
shingles?
another roofer up there, and then they both pointed at each other that they each did it wrong.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't want a different roofer up there doing the job, and then something happens, and they point at each other, that something went wrong.
I make the motion, we approve this.
I'm confused.
Boner did it the first time.
Boner put this original roof on.
Okay.
If you put a second roofer on that roof, and he puts this part on, and then something happens, because they have to join. They
I
have to
understand.
join
I understand that part.
the-
I'll say
The original part wasn't there, so.
Yeah. But anyway, the biggest thing is that we're out the deductible, so we have to notify you of that.
What about AOC? On that 5,000? Remember I sent the email and she sent back?
I should tell you.
She's waiting on us to send the construction, the insurance quote.
Okay.
Once she gets that, then she could get the 5,000 approved, maybe, she said.
She has received the work order request.
Well, I know, I got her that, but she wants the insurance quote.
Yes.
What the insurance person said.
Yes, the approval letter from the insurance company.
When did she get that?
She hasn't received it yet, it just came today.
Okay, once she gets that, then she may be able to cover the 5,000, remember?
She may be able to cover her share of the 5,000.
Well, she didn't say that, she just said.
I understand.
So are we getting a new roof?
For that portion of the roof,
That
yes.
portion?
Well, this roof's not that old, we've paid $60-some thousand not too
It's
long
about-
ago.
Probably 15 years old.
Yeah, it's supposed
It was
to.
weather damaged.
Yeah.
that's why the insurance is paying on
The
it.
insurance was paying.
I understand that.
I guess since there's flashing, there's chimneys involved in that section.
No,
What's the flashing going to?
the wall.
Oh, okay.
It does connect to this, I'm in the wrong part of the building, but there's a wall that joins this old part of the building with the new part.
All right.
And that L's into that wall. I think it's right there.
I
think
just
it's about
know
a
the
little bit long.
difficulties of flashing around chimneys from personal
Yes,
experience.
well, that's this wing going this way, and they're not,
Okay,
they're
does-
in that.
Does anybody have any other questions? And, we need to connect the dots, and make sure that AOC gets this information today, so that we can hear back from them
Yeah.
as soon as possible on their participatory agreement.
If you want to email it over to me, I'll be happy to send it to her along with that, because I've already sent her the work order.
She's already received it.
Yeah, I know.
We sent it to her.
Well, I sent it to her too.
Make sure
After you saw it.
she got it.
Yeah, she got it.
Yes, she got it. But
Does
she needs
anybody
that
have
back,
any
and
questions
she-
on anything that's been presented? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, to proceed with the roof repair as stated, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
I
Okay. We have a,
think there's too many questions that are going back and forth, that you guys are presenting stuff and things haven't been answered. So I don't know how we can go through this. We don't know who AO is paying for, AOC is paying for. I really think this needs to be put on the back burner, and then when we have all the questions, really need to come forward.
We need to fix the roof.
Okay.
the discussion on
We
the
have
pay for
we
is
have water
the
damage
deductible.
inside that we still have to repair too after we repair the roof. There's still more to come.
This building is nothing but water damage and roof damage and other stuff. It's an old building, but.
The question is on the portion of pay for the deductible. So, not the repair cost, which insurance is covering.
It's all one and the same.
Moving right along.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all I have.
All right.
No, I appreciate you doing your job.
All right, we're down to Chris Herron, who's not here, so when Miss
Can't let them all.
Oh, I know.
Schaller wishes to present on this ordinance, which is 280.2.
There's one change. There's one change from the last time you saw it, before Kay comes up, and that is about, political signage on your vehicles,
What page is
and
that?
that's on page 12 and 13, item C. And that's the language Chris asked you to table until he got that put together. So it's on page 12 and 13,
There
item
he
C.
Right on time.
IT Joe.
Sorry, I was giving a talk to different classes at Boyle County about truth and consequences of their actions. I thought it was pretty important.
There you go.
There today. So today is the second reading of our ethics ordinance, which amends our prior 1280.1.
Point two?
Yeah, but our prior one was probably
The original was 280.0.
zero. Okay.
Oh, 0.
So this is an amendment to our prior. Since we last came to court, I think there was really only one change that was made, and that was one main thing. It was dealing with election and display of signs. It's on page 12 and 13 of the ordinance, and I was going to go over that with you real quick. A question had been proposed to me about whether or not, I mean, you see, there's a rule in our ordinance about you can't directly or indirectly, campaign in the courthouse, and question of, whether that extends to our parking lots or not, because that's technically, property of the courthouse. And I think that what we did in our section 15 of the ordinance, we kind of helped identify political activity. It's talking about candidates on the very bottom of section 15. No officer or employee of the county can candidate for a county office, and you can't do certain things, request or authorize anyone to request subordinate, potential future subordinate, or to participate or not in any partisan political activity. That was already in there, but I think the big one that we have, I'm trying to find that. Is it?
C on page 13.
Okay, C, which is nothing in this section, and this is addressing whether or not you can have signs on your vehicles or whatever in the parking lot. Nothing in this section shall prohibit any officer or employee of the county or any other county agency or candidate from the county from voluntarily displaying signage affixed to their personal vehicle. I think we need to change that because that's what I have. It says their personal vehicle during the course of ordinary business within the scope of their employment or support of a candidate.
In support.
Yes, in support of a candidate for political office or partisan political group. So the one thing that I would make mention of is within the scope of their employment. So meaning if you're here working, you can have it out there, but not if you're just like parking your car for like after hours, for example, just to display some kind of sign, whether it's affixed to your vehicle or like one of those signs that you see maybe in the back of somebody's truck, the big signs. We can't be doing that. If you're here for official business, I mean, I think that's what that's covering.
Or you work here.
Work here, yeah, official business or working here, then yes. But it's during the ordinary course of business, and you're not just here for that sole purpose of like having your vehicle out there, promoting yourself or someone else. Yes.
Can I ask 2 questions? Just because I want to make sure we're all doing this right. So I come in here to pick up mail or something, and I've got a shirt on that says elect Jason Cullen. Is that stuff that we should not be wearing in the courthouse either, or how does that affect this?
Well,
or a hat, or something like that.
I got to be careful with that, and I don't think necessarily it's against the rules. For example, it's interesting. I remember when the first time I ran for election, like during that process, Matt Jones from Kentucky Sports Radio, he's over there at the Dexters, and they were talking about stuff. Different, not just Kentucky topics, but he said, hey, in Minnesota, there's a recent Supreme Court ruling where they ruled that, if, you go to vote and someone's got a pin or a hat or a shirt that says, vote for whoever, they can do that. So that's kind of like a free speech thing, and they ruled that was okay. So, I would be careful with that. It's not,
Do it or not do it.
I mean, I would frown.
Let's be careful, man.
I would frown upon doing that, especially because
don't make it a habit.
Yeah, I just come in to check your mail every hour of the day or something like that, because we we have people voting here, and the other day there was a calendar, and it had displayed, and it had vote for so and so for this or that, and I took those down because that's you're right here at the courthouse, where there's they're taking absentee ballots in, people are actually coming to vote. So I would really frown against that, doing that. It's not specifically addressed in this, but I wouldn't do it.
How about political meetings?
Political meetings, I think that
Like, so somebody comes in here with the sole purpose to talk to another individual about being a candidate or whatever, and it's not official business that's happening. Are those things that we should be concerned about, or?
If it's happening during work hours, then we shouldn't be talking about that.
Like, if somebody specifically came into the courthouse to talk to somebody else about, I guess, non-business related stuff. Are those
Right, I
things
think that's covered in this statute.
Is that covered? Okay.
You can't be doing that.
All right.
One matter of clarification on page 19, and Kate can probably help us with this. It refers to the Ethics Commission, and then the next item it says the Ethics Committee. It should be commission, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll get those changed.
And could we get a copy of what's been added? We haven't seen that commission.
Right.
Yes.
The only copies I have are PDFs. I need if I could have one where it's like a Word copy where I can make some changes to fix those
Yeah,
little.
because we haven't seen that yet, so
I'll send them off of this.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But that's it. I think that now we're covered on multiple facets of ethical issues, which our statute or ordinance didn't cover before. It really just dealt with giving contracts to people and fair hand dealing, that kind of thing. I think that it encompasses everything now that we can think of at this point anyway. But especially the political activity, I think it covers it, and I think that it's good what we've done. So
okay.
I would recommend that
Good.
that you adopt that, and it's our second reading, and that we make those amendments to the ordinance.
So do we have to have another
Clean
reading
copy.
after these amendments, or this?
No,
is
it's second
good?
reading. I told you the amendments that
Okay.
or changes that I've made, and by the way, I want to thank the committee. They put a lot of hard work into
They've done excellent.
into this, and appreciate it. It's something we needed, and so there won't be any question of whether this is wrong or right. And thank you very much.
I plan to probably advocate against KRS statute that requires candidates that are not public servants currently serving to file a financial disclosure, because I see a potential in it being misutilized appropriately. And I don't know, probably nobody in the court knows that is part of statute. And I still think it's wrong. 100% agree with financial disclosure once you've been selected by the people to serve in some capacity, 100%. But as a candidate and not a current serving public official, I think that it has the opportunity to be misused. So, I just plan to, I would vote for.
It can be misused on an incumbent as well.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think it's fair play but anyway, if one has to do it, I think that's why they put it in there, because you can't ask one side to do it and not the other. So you want us?
I'll make them. Oh, go ahead.
No.
So you want us to adopt this with the changes that have been recommended right now, and is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then we'll have a clean copy that comes back to us at some point.
Yes, we
I mean,
have to
that-
like put notice in the.
This is the clean copy other than just some grammatical
Yes.
typo
Correct.
corrections, right?
Yes.
Right, and I need to call it amendment, not ordinance
Okay.
establishing, whatever, so.
Okay, I'll make the motion, we approve this.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve made by Magic Gay and second by Magic Cullen as the second reading on this 820.0. This ethics committee work has been truly outstanding. They brought us light years ahead of where we were, and I appreciate it, Kay, and all your team, and what council has done to help really make it even a better product. So, that being said, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you to Julie as well and Missy.
All right, we're now at a point where we can go around the room, starting counselor, district committee reports. So you're neither district or committee, but you're part of the court, so we'll start with you.
Thanks, I have no reports to present, but, I was at the school earlier today. They just told me about it yesterday, but it was important, explaining to our youth about how the court system works and, that there are consequences for your actions. And, I gave some real life examples to them. Some of them weren't listening. I felt like I saw some of them actually snoring even. But I gave a real life example of a situation in Marshall County where there was a mass shooting. And said, it could happen anywhere. It could happen in Boyle County. And, when you give an example like that, then it seems like people pay attention. And I gave them a story about how the Marshall County attorney presented at a conference we had recently about how he had to deal with a youth who committed a mass shooting, and how he ended up electing to treat him as an adult and not a youth, and prosecute him as an adult, and how that person now is serving many years in jail, maybe the rest of their life, because of that because of the action that he committed, and that there are consequences for your actions, and that guy's going to have to think about that every day for the rest of their life. But it was, I feel like it caught their attention when I talked about how the officer, the state trooper, showed up to the scene, and his daughter went to school there. He couldn't get in contact with her. He had taken her phone the night before because she had gotten in trouble, and he sees somebody face down in a pool of blood and thinks that's his daughter. And so he has to go there in the commons area, cafeteria, and thinking he's going to be identifying his daughter while he's still on scene where there's a shooter. And they turn her over, and it's not his daughter, but it was somebody's daughter, somebody's child, somebody's grandchild. And I think that, describing that horrific situation, it really, they were listening at that point. And just, advise them to keep their ears and eyes open. You might hear somebody joking about it, thinking, they're not really going to do that, but you need to, even if somebody's joking about it, you need to report it to somebody, because maybe that guy was joking about it and, nobody took him seriously, and then they could have prevented a mass casualty situation like that. So I'm really glad that I was fortunate enough to get to speak with the Boyle County students. And sorry I was late, but I felt like that was something important to do. And, other than that, brass band's coming up. I spoke with Missy Angolia, and they're actually looking for someone to kind of run the food vendor. So I'm looking for somebody to step up and volunteer to be in charge of that. I'm going to be in charge of the Pepsi booth. I've got a link to a sign-up sheet for operating the Pepsi booth during that weekend, and hopefully maybe I can get Bill to put it up on our website. I'll put it on my Facebook site. Maybe you guys can share it as well, and so we can get all these positions filled. But yeah, it's coming up really soon. I mean, it's when is it? It's like the weekend of June 2nd. So.
3rd or 4th, something like that.
So it'll be here very, like in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll have good weather and not like the rain that sometimes comes to Danville when we have that event. But last year was kind of a smaller version where we had it here at Wisiger Park, but I think it's going back to the
That's
normal
glad to hear.
location.
Glad to hear it's going back onto centers.
But yeah, I encourage everybody. I mean, we make a lot of money. Our community. All these people that come in, whether they stay in our hotels, they buy our food, go to our stores, and so that's something that we definitely need to promote because it's a great event for our community.
All right, very good. Well, thank you. Your message to the students was very important, and that's something that they and a lot of other people need to hear on a frequent basis. Magistrate Simmons.
I don't have anything. Sometime I will explain that Magistrate Campbell said about Red Cross, the reason I'm so against Red Cross in Boyle County.
Okay, we'll do that at another time.
But it'll take probably 5 minutes. And the council took up a lot of my time, so I'll pass it on to Ronnie.
Okay. That's short.
The only thing I've got is next week is election day, 17th. So us that is running in the primaries, we gotta get our constituents out to vote, so. I know I'm probably the only Republican, I think there's some Democrats that's got run off, so. Anyway, that's all I got.
That's all you got?
That's enough.
Okay.
I would just say that in addition to Brass Band Festival coming soon, we also have the, on Center's campus, we have commencement graduation at Center coming soon, which also brings a lot of guests and visitors into town. And that's the May 22nd, I believe, the Sunday.
We'll miss those days.
So that's coming. I know that was when we always gave him work and he hated it.
Yeah. No, I loved it. It's not in that big a.
I was like, I hate to make him mad, but we got more people coming to town.
Release the floodgates. Here they come.
But no, so that's that'll be happening soon, and so again, lots of visitors coming for that, and again, we hope for good weather. We are back inside this year in the Norton Center in full post-COVID capacity situation, so that'll be a good thing as well.
Okay, very good. Anything else? That's the cable.
Some of y'all notice I'm wearing this. It's to protect you all. I'm done with this COVID. It's over.
Are you done with it?
I'm done with it. So, but I felt like it would save a little bit.
Could I get a
Folks
transfusion?
around me, I would protect them. There's something that concerns me that I think is a point of information for all of us. I watched last night a little bit of the city meeting, and Jason did. Presentation from BCTC. Some updating and some issues. I think we all need to be aware of that. Since they gave a presentation to the city last night, would you please consider maybe a presentation to us to keep us informed? The news I didn't like, but if it's reality, it's reality. It shows some weakness that we have here with our workforce, the numbers, and I think we can all be better informed if we hear what they presented last night. Jason, would you think they would be
Very
worthy
much.
of it?
Yep. I'm glad to see Dr. Tipton's back helping.
Brass Band's a wonderful opportunity to show off. And everybody works really hard at it. But I think we gotta show off 365 days a year, not just one weekend a year. So when opportunities come, let's realize there are opportunities, and let's not miss opportunities to show off what we have here, because we're all proud of it, but we need to share it with others, because that's what life is about, is sharing. That's all I have.
Very good, very good.
Did you say you wanted committee reports too, or no? Just
committee reports will come at the second session.
That's what I thought. Okay.
That's just a marker.
Y'all throw me off. I don't even know what day of the week it is.
District report.
one thing that also came up last night at the city commission meeting was discussion on all the parks projects that are going on within the city. I don't know where they're getting their money from, but they've got a lot of big ideas. So, but one thing that we really need to do, and our county attorney did an excellent job getting this taken care of, but we need to make sure that no encroachment happens into that Memorial Park. We need to make sure that we get a good photo of where everything stops, and that the city firmly understands this is, this is a no-cross zone, and I would like a little bit of a buffer, to be honest with you.
There is a little bit of buffer if I remember the plot.
There should be, but, anyone that has a neighbor, and when you mow lawns, sometimes you go over a stripe or two, and I just don't, that is a significant piece of property here in Boyle County, and we need to make sure that it's protected, and I've had conversations with Jack Hendricks about this, and it's imperative that we make sure that, I know this is his baby too, so I know he's gonna be on top of it, but I think we all need to be in that corner and make sure that there's no questions on where the boundaries are. And Master Kaywood, you're right. One thing I think we also need to remember that this court did is we allowed the farmers market to come back to Constitution Square. This was one of the great things that we've done, is to give the community a place to come, to a very significant part of the county. But that farmers market happens, and it's getting bigger and bigger each year, and it's fantastic to see how many people it's bringing downtown and the various things that are going on. So that's a huge win for the county, that we looked and said, we really want that back at no cost to them as well. So and then I was kind of let sleeping dogs lie, but somebody decided to poke the bear. So there is last week I discussed the abusive of requesting open meetings records or whatever, and this is kind of an apology to the staff that have to deal with this. They have a large job on their hands, and when you get a certain individual that thinks that they're going to be a menace to this community, and just pile it on and just do more, and what really upsets me is when this person comes in and says, I really don't need this stuff, but Jason hurt my feelings, so I'm submitting another request, which is kind of abusive, and I've talked to attorneys at CAECO to see if this is something and they agreed that it can be abusive. So I'm sorry that you all are having to work harder for this, and I'm sorry that this person continues to waste taxpayer dollars by putting in these frivolous open records meeting requests, just to be mean. That's really what it comes down to. But given who they are, it doesn't surprise me. That's all.
First off, the judge and I are going to be working on just what's going to happen when members of the Rolling Thunder and Patriot Guard are going to be here early to mid-June. It's my understanding that there's going to be a 2-day event, and dozens and dozens of them will be here, and we'll certainly want to honor them when they come. I'd credit Master Kaywood on a couple of things. Number one, bringing up BCTC. There may be people in this room who really don't understand what's going on. The census of entities like BCTC all across the state of students is down. And it could end up being a budget consideration. You'll recall, I think it was $50,000 we gave to their new center about 3 years ago when we all went to the dedication of that. Folks, the trades today are more in need than ever before in our lifetimes. We're 1,000 down on employees in this county of 30,000, and we need to do everything we can to support the enrollment of our students. They get in there, they get trained, highly certified in many different disciplines, and then they will stay here for their careers. So we need to get involved in that, and John, thank you for bringing that up. Likewise, Magistrate Kaywood brought up to us last year that we're a $41+ million industry of folks coming from on tourism from all over the world. If you saw the news this morning, it started out with a report that they may be at $325 million in Greater Louisville for the Derby. The final report came in. They have had $400 million worth of trade for Derby Week, which accrues to so many different things in that greater community, all the way out into the surrounding counties. And that shows what we can do if we want to build our tourism in our greater Boyle County area. The third one, Duane, I'm glad you're still here. This is unique to me, and it may not end up being unique to all of us. Help me out so that everybody knows. The washouts that we've had in some of our spring rains, especially this past year, winter and spring. We have a new house under construction in my district, and they put in a temporary corrugated plastic sieve type pipe underneath the gravel, and of course with concrete trucks and everything, that's collapsing. And so I wrote to Duane yesterday, what do we do? The understanding of the owner is I may have to pay for this, but how is it done, and how do we make sure it's large enough this time?
Our policy is on any new entrance, and we talk to the builder, if they can get across the ditch temporarily without a tile, we recommend they do so for that very reason, because they end up damaging the tile with all the different loads of rock, brick, concrete that go across it. Yeah. Anyway, that being said, any new entrance, the property owner is responsible for purchasing the tile, and then we, the county, go out, drag the ditch, clean the ditch if we need to.
And I didn't mention, this is our easement, so right. It's our land.
Our county road. And we go out then and prepare the ditch, put the third tile in the ditch, and then we provide the rock to cover the ditch.
And do you make a recommendation to the builder, the grade and the size?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, we look at each situation and recommend the size of the tile. And then
Good.
We give them the type of tile that they need to purchase.
Great, thank you.
And there's options, but we give them those options.
I'm excited that I drove into Perryville again yesterday, and the walk bridge is not only open, but it is such a connector to both sides of Chaplain River now. It will enhance the tourists being able to move all around that area, and that is one of our jewels in the crown with Battlefield and everything else. Chris, I don't think the court knows, but we've signed the documents with the state on Crawford House. Crawford House is in dire situation. There are folks out there who want to purchase it. Unfortunately, and Chris tried to negotiate this, but we've got to do something greater than what they've done. They've allotted us 0.279 acres. That's not 1/3 of an acre. So when that bid process were to go out and they realize they've either got to have a septic tank that can be cleaned all the time, or it's Waterloo in terms of being able to put a lateral field on that amount of time. Our ordinance that we've signed is 1 acre or more, and that's not even 1/3 of the way there. So I know I'm going to be hearing more from the Perryville community, and we're just going to have to find out a way to wrestle, maybe get a long-term lease on the rest of the ground so that they can put in a lateral field if they purchase it. But the bidders have to have their eyes wide open when they see what's going on, and they will know that that's going to be a false promise if they can't get in there any other way.
Hey Tom, and remember too, I mean, we corrected the restrictions, but it's actually still the state's property. So I mean, it's gonna.
I know.
I would, suggest, if we could get with the new director of parks, and I mean, if they would just give it to us at this point, deed it back to us.
All that.
Well, I mean, it'd be great to have it all, but if anything, if we could get the one
they're
part.
They're not doing anything with it,
Right. But if anything, at least get the one part so we can sell it, because I don't know how active they are in
no
the process
one would buy
of
it with that restriction.
Nobody would.
They can't do
It's a
anything with it,
non-conforming lot.
and it's a several $100,000 repair of that building, because I have 2 experiences with that in the past. on land that was put into parks in another community. But we will follow up and work on that. The exciting thing is, please, on Sunday, come out to the showroom. All the 4-H kids and all the kids involved in farms in Greater Boyle County who have animals that they raise and put in competitions, they're having a fundraising barbecue from 12 to 2 after church is out. And for the steep price of $10, you'll get a barbecue sandwich with all the trimmings and homemade desserts and a drink. So please plan on coming out. $10 a head to support the youth in 4-H and all the farm families that support their kids in these programs. Showroom, 12 to 2, Sunday. That's it, Judge.
All right.
Can I say one more thing? I'm sorry. I know Phil's going to kill me for this, but this is important because we need to start planning ahead of time. We had a slight discussion on this before. Deaf Fest is coming to Danville, Boyle County, September 3rd. It's a few months away, but we need to start planning. It's kind of like one of those things where we, you know, brass band's a big thing. This is a biannual thing that happens. Every 2 years it happens, and it's normally been out towards Louisville. It's through Kentucky Hands and Voices that puts this on. So since this is the biannual, the last one would have been in 2020, but it didn't happen because of COVID. So they've not had a Deaf Fest since 2018. And so it's going to be here at the Norton Center on September 3rd. This will bring in a lot of people, especially a lot of people from the deaf community. And this will be a huge opportunity for us to show off more of what we are and what we have. But Deaf Fest started here in Danville. And so they're bringing it back here in correlation to the 200th anniversary of KSD as well. So that's going to be a big day that I know Kendall from our CVB is aware of it, but this is one that we really would need to promote, and I'm hoping that maybe CVB will start doing some videoing of all these different events that we can put out on our website and theirs. So anyway.
And in support of us being the city and county of first, many people don't know that our deaf community and schools were the first in the United States history public-private sector investment in the deaf community, the first ever in the entire United States.
Yeah. This year's theme is the greatest deaf festival on earth, so let's make it.
All right. Well, that's good information. So we need to really stay engaged with CBB, the Convention Visitors Bureau, on the planning aspect, and the city on the planning aspects to be good hosts for this event. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. A couple things I've got. I want to make some announcements. There's a solar workshop that will be citizen-driven initiative on May 24th, 7 p.m. at Center Works. Let people know about that. If they want to attend, it's good information I think can be presented there. So that's for the court's information as well. May 24th, 7 p.m. Center Works. That's a solar workshop. The other thing is that on May 21st, Jack Hendricks told me that the VFW out on Stanford Road will have a flag retirement ceremony, which I sure hope that I'm in town because I want to participate as a life member of VFW. John, Phil, you may guys want to be out there. It's Armed Forces Day, 3 p.m. on the lower back behind. If you go down the drive, it's in behind the VFW post out on Stanford Road at 3 p.m. There'll be a flag retirement ceremony there. May 21st. It's a Saturday.
Thank you. Yeah,
3 p.m.
I got
3 p.m. Okay. I would like, that's all I have.
Judge, we're still on for the change on our next meeting date to May 19th, is that correct? Just wanted to make that note where we talked about that at the last meeting too.
May 19th.
It's okay.
Yeah, so
I just want to make sure that was
I believe,
noticed.
I'm glad you reminded me because that, with everything else out there, that had May 19th to be our next court
And be
meeting.
our first reading of our budget.
For the budget review. And I got an affirmative head nod from treasurer, and so we're good.
All right, okay.
Good to hook on that.
No pressure.
I would like to go into executive session under KR 61.810, section 1F, discussions on, or hearing on some information that may lead to appointment, dismissal of an individual employee. Can I entertain a motion to go
I'll make
into
that motion.
executive session?
Second.
Motion made by Manager Cullen, seconded by Manager Simmons. And we'll ask for everybody to leave, and we will
Cut the mics.
have 5 minute break while we clear the room. And
We're waiting
Show a
for
blank
it.
screen when
Wait for Bill to say we're back on.
we're on.
Bill probably gone lunch.
We're on.
We're on.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is to come out of the executive session made by Magistrate Ellis and seconded by Magistrate Sammons. I'll repeat the motion since I said I would entertain one. I didn't hear it, but anyway. That's what the motion is.
That's Tom's fault, not mine.
Discussion?
I seconded it.
This is parliamentary procedures.
Yes.
I move that we adjourn.
Now, wait a minute, we gotta come out of the executive session
Okay.
to vote.
I'm sorry.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the statement needs to be made that we took no action during executive session, and I'll entertain another motion.
Motion we adjourn.
A motion made to adjourn by Magistrate Cullen, second by Magistrate Gay, I think it was. And all those in favor?
Aye.
May we adjourn in recognition of Armed Forces Day, since we will not be meeting again.
No, we don't do that. We get this thing out of hand. You wanna adjourn and Blueberry Day. or
You went for Ellery's 100th
birthday. You adjourn in somebody's memory. You don't, somebody's.
Armed Forces.
Like Miss Eloise, we honored Miss Eloise.
Sorry.
Tom's dog died. He wants to adjourn his memory.
He did love his dog.
We have a motion to adjourn and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We stand adjourned.
When do
We actually will be back before our.